Hello everyone, hope everybody is doing well. So I want to make a lot of articles and a lot of reports about the economy and what's really going on in this pandemic, which I honestly do not believe that the downturn that I've talked about for many years now, although I'm not as doom and gloom as many of these fear-mongering channels because they usually have an agenda, but I have mentioned that there's a lot of problems in our economy and our society. And the thing is that when we're experiencing this downfall, this pandemic is being used as a scapegoat for the fall of what's really going on. But in reality, what the pandemic did is accelerated the problem, and it helped reveal the true colors of this fragile, phony economy that is based largely on fractional reserve banking, lots of credit, consumption, lack of savings, and so forth. Lack of productivity, you name it. And as you can see in this article from Forbes, and then once again, I just want to make this very clear, I don't trust a lot of these sites and media outlets, but they do have some important elements that we can learn from. So what we're really seeing is the acceleration of this economic transformation that we're about to see. And one element of that is that brick and mortar retail is in trouble. Now, I do not believe that the main reason why brick and mortar retail is in a huge dilemma is because of the so-called e-commerce types of the world. I believe a lot of this is because a lot of people are literally overspending on their credit cards. They don't have the discretionary spending like they used to. There's a huge squeeze of people trying to pay their rents, healthcare costs, tuition, debt, etc. And a lot of people just don't have the spare funds as they can to go out and spend. And because a lot of people are fearing to go outside and there's all this social distancing, well, this is going to accelerate this collapse that we're about to see in many shopping malls in the months and years to come. Now, here in Las Vegas, we already have two shopping malls, the ones that were built, I think, in the 60s to the 70s, the Boulevard Mall and the Meadows Mall, which is in a lot of trouble. And so as a result, we're seeing high levels of vacancy. I wouldn't be surprised once they open it, not that many people are coming. As a matter of fact, I just heard a report from Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust that the fact that even though Austin, Texas opened a lot of their shopping malls, there isn't a lot of traffic. Now, it could take time, but given the fact that a lot of people don't have a lot of money, they've lost their jobs, what makes you think that they're going to go on their credit cards and buy a $100 outfit or something? So you can see on this article, mall meltdown coming. Headlines are talking about a retail apocalypse a few years back. Then 2020 hit. The coronavirus pandemic has put 10% of the US workforce out of a job. And some people say it could be more than that, like 50 million people have filed for unemployment. You could see here companies ranging from Macy's, Gap, TJ Maxx, 1 in 4 jobs in retail trade, what is going to look like. The unemployment rate is going to surge to 20%. Then again, unemployment rates can be very misleading too. And the pain will trickle in the mall industry. And there's going to be a lot of bankruptcies, like a Cheesecake Factory, Staples, they can't pay their rent. The list just goes on and on. And they told about the fact that there shouldn't be a reason that they can't stop paying rent. Now, I believe a lot of these corporations have money. They're just using that as an excuse. So, only 26% of retail tenants have paid rent. You have to understand that these mall owners, believe it or not, they need that income to maintain, clean their property. They have bills to pay. These are all these things that you have to look into. There's 1,100 shopping malls across the United States. You got only a handful of companies that own a great number of them. Now, the question is, what's going to happen? I do see a lot of closures, absolutely. It's going to have a trickle-down effect. And the problem is it going to ripple effect to a lot of shopping malls like ones we have here, Fashion Show, Downtown Summerlin, District of Green Valley, the ones that haven't been doing so bad. It's only a matter of time. And then what are you going to see with all these vacant properties? Who knows? They could be turned into experience type places, office places, residential. We just don't know. It's going to look pretty scary in the coming months. And I believe this is the same person who made this article talking about the fact that there's another retail apocalypse across the US. Malls and outlets are closed and God knows when. We are living in unprecedented times. This is the retail apocalypse. And then you can see on this chart, this is the leverage, payout ratio, sector risk, and the property sectors in terms of reliability. You can see here lodging is pretty high, malls, gaming, prisons, and it goes down the list. It goes to office, industrial, all the way down to single family, cell tower, and data center. So it's looking pretty shocking. Now this is the rent index. Let's really talk about this situation. And you can see here the rents are looking pretty flat in the National House Price Index. You can see here that San Francisco is among the highest. It goes all the way down to New York, DC, Seattle. And once you take a look at these articles, how coronavirus will impact the Las Vegas housing market, a lot of these people, when you look at these articles, she bought in 2006 and it was finally ready to sell and the market hit peak. Now she doesn't have any takers. So this real estate fallout has been accelerating a lot harder than the last time we had the downturn in the mid to late 2000s. And then let's take a look at this article right here. These are the markets that are most likely in danger of the recession. As you can see here, Las Vegas. Let's go down the article. You can see here gaming areas are going to be hit. Las Vegas. Southern Nevada reached 316,000 in February. Now, I don't know if these numbers are actually accurate. They could have a margin of error. But there is a lot of people that are going to be hit because nevertheless, it's hit the employment sector really hard. I've talked to you about this in previous videos and future videos I'm going to show you. And they can tell you a disproportionate number of visitors are going into convention. And about 30% of employment is in leisure and hospitality. Wow, a lot of it has been canceled. So what does this really tell you? Now they're saying, oh, well, there hasn't been a rampant open building. Well, guess what? The real estate market is disproportionately affected on mass credit, zero money down, low interest rates. You know, and if people just don't have the money, it's very fragile. It could fall apart. Now, just because there hasn't been a lot of construction does not mean the real estate market cannot fail in a huge aspect. In fact, there were many other cities in the last bubble that didn't do a lot of mass construction and they had heavy foreclosure rates. And basically what we just had is the banks come in, turn a lot of their former foreclosed properties into rentals. I guess they're going to have to release them pretty soon. We had a lot of foreign buyers, home flippers, very dependent on this. Airbnb folks, they're now in trouble. And basically, given the fact that this economy is so manipulated, is so fragile, it's so dependent on this credit addiction, that once again, this pandemic is really going to be used as a scapegoat to cover up the banking manipulation, the schemes, and this horrible bailouts that we've been doing for many years. And I know there's going to be a lot of division, a lot of people pointing fingers at each other left and right, but instead they should come together and realize that this Wall Street Federal Reserve manipulation is really the heart of the problem. And you can take a look in this article right here. This is from Forbes magazine. It tells you why the U.S. housing bubble is about to burst. I argued the odds of a U.S. recession in the next 12 months is about 64%. On the current pace, I like to take a quick look at the bubbles in my June 2019 piece. And they've had the 0% interest rate policy. This is no surprise. This is pretty obvious. This is the housing bubble crash. Federal Reserve has reinflated the bubble, up 59%, of course, much higher in this area here in Las Vegas from the bottom of 2012. In 2012, housing prices have been rising much faster than overall inflation, rents, and wages. And a lot of this isn't just the low credit rates. It's also the lack of building, lack of competitors, a lot of different factors. It's difficult to build housing than ever before. There's a lot of different other factors you have to keep in mind, geographical limitations, especially in states like California. Now you look in this propaganda mouthpiece and they'll say, well, virus shouldn't crash Las Vegas home prices. But then how do you explain when you're seeing a lot of slowdowns, you're seeing a lot less volume all of a sudden, you're seeing this massive joblessness? What do you think is really going to happen? Oh my goodness, this is not looking really good. And probably when he means crash, I think he probably means like 30-40%, but we're already seeing this massive slowdown. And it isn't just real estate, it's also the rental market. You can see here how the rents, inflation adjusted, have risen much faster than real household income compared to 1960. Remember, household income can be kind of misleading because now you have the wife working instead. On the other hand, you have to understand apartments have changed in terms of features and size, a lot of different things. Inflation adjusted, they have risen over time. Look at this, 930. That's about the same rate as what I pay here in Las Vegas. And I think it was probably about the same rate, not just nationally, but in Las Vegas too, in 1960. But of course, the apartments they built in 1960 were not the same. I mean, I have granite countertops. I don't believe they had that. And so you can see your rents have increased 12%, but median income has actually fell by 7% from 2000 to 2010. And the cost burden number of people continues to increase over time. It's no surprise. Now let's get an update about the May 2020 rental index. And you can see here in 2019 and 20, it's been hardly changing, and now it's been falling apart. And each and every year we've been doing less and less and less. Now let's go down the list and let's see who's being the hardest hit. Now you can see here the red is among the highest jumps and the blue is among the worst. And the worst you can see here is here in Las Vegas, particularly in Henderson. I don't know why exactly it's hitting Henderson so hard. I guess a lot of these people who've been getting these high-tipped wage jobs that live in these affluent areas, they really are in a tough position. And it's not so bad in places like, I would say, in the Great Plains, Midwest, but you can see here Florida is looking really bad. New York is getting really hit, as you can see here, because they've been hit hard by the pandemic. Phoenix had the highest growth. We certainly did have a significant growth. They're saying that the U.S. housing market is showing first signs of trouble from the pandemic. And they're saying, just like many of these articles, the U.S. market had a good start of the year, but we didn't have massive numbers of overbuilding. And they're making this argument. However, many of these commentators, they're telling us, well, many who saw the commenting as through believe themselves to be entitled to real estate investors. One of my favorites. We're going to see a 40-50% drop in the state of California. Once you look at this article, you can see right here, housing expert, home sales could fall 30-40% in the next months. Spring and summer months are traditionally the hottest home buying season, but one predicts sales could drop as much as 40%. Market activity could be lower in months, and then they don't expect to see price declines, but I'm already seeing a lot of reports that price declines are already happening already. There's no indication that fewer buyer activity will lead to price declines. Sellers won't decrease their prices and buyers aren't expecting lower prices. We knew that home sales would whine. Well, when people don't have a lot of money and you're starting to see, well, JP Morgan, believe it or not, this is really the most important aspect of it, along with other banks, they're starting to raise mortgage borrowing standards as economic outlook darkens. Wow. They're going to raise their credit score requirements to 700 and have their down payment of 20%. This is what it should be in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. And in fact, I do have a lot of savings. I do have a credit score over 700, but it's pretty shocking. A lot of people are buying these oversized, cheap quality McMansion homes in these low lending standards. So what do you guys think? Not a lot of jobs, credit tightening, lack of confidence. This sounds to me like an appetite, obviously, for a real estate downturn. All right, everybody, if you like this video, please subscribe, please share, like if you can. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more videos.